Declaration of Independence, for me, is one of the best pieces of writing I've ever seen.
It's a revolutionary document for a revolutionary statement.
You cannot help but be stirred when you read those words.
Thomas Jefferson's writing is absolutely magnificent. And when he wrote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal," that was the first time anybody had bothered to write that down.
Happy Independence, everybody. I hope you're having a fabulous 4th of July celebration. I'm right here making a video for you, but I'm also going out. You see, I got my suspenders on, and I'm about to go out and have a blast myself for the 4th of July celebration. As Christians and Americans, we know about the Declaration of Independence. It's a very, very fantastic document. Declaration of Independence is very important to the American, but that's just half as important as the Bible is to a Christian. And we carry the independence document very, very highly. So let us watch some more beautiful independence videos, and then we're gonna go into the topic of today.
Are free people. We can vote for who we want to have in charge, and we're not going to tolerate you telling us that we have some class status we have to be trapped in. It says, we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights.
We are endowed by our Creator. We can see that even in the fabric of what makes America so great, there is this creation in there. There's this Christian element, a very, very Christian element that is responsible for America's greatness today, because that is the basis on which everybody has rights. And this is very, very clear when we look at this video. It says nobody thought to say that Thomas Jefferson had that idea to make that work into the Constitution of America. And all right, let's get into today's video. Are you ready? If you look at this video, you'd see it as science, theology, independence in it, and you're wondering, okay, what is going on? Well, as a matter of fact, I love the sciences, and I've always wondered why there's always such a cohesion between religion and science, and I think there is no doubt there whatsoever. Now, first of all, what I'm going to try today is try to apply the scientific method to the observations that we find in the Bible. Now, this is not going to be possible in every situation. As we all know, the Bible is a compilation of 66 different books with about 40 different authors over a period of about 1500 years. There are songs in there. You're not going to use the scientific method to check a song. There are poems in there. There are, like visions, etc. But wherever the Bible makes a prepositional claim, like this is this or this is that, then we can use the scientific method to dig deeper into that. So I'm gonna start my presentation today by showing you exactly what I'm talking about. So what is the scientific method? The scientific method is an empirical method of acquiring knowledge that has characterized the development of science since at least the 17th century. So it's not very old, maybe 15th, like it's been forever, but it became a big thing around the 17th century. It involves the following. It involves characterizations, it involves observations, it involves definitions and measurements of the subject of inquiry. So whatever you're looking at, you observe it, you define it, and you measure it. And then you form an hypothesis. So basically, you make an hypothetical explanation of what you have just seen. And then you make a prediction, basically. Sometimes those two are equal, hypothesis and prediction, because in the formation of the hypothesis you are making an inductive or deductive explanation, and then there's experiments. So that's whatever explanation you make, whatever observation, whatever things you come up with, you take it outside of the laboratory to the experiment, to experiment on it, and then you form a theory or a law, and then you report it, and then you do it over and over again. Can you do this with the Bible? Of course we can. Don't you have to step out of the Bible? No, we don't have to. Take for example, when man developed science or discovered science, he didn't have to step out of being a man in order to do science on humanity or other things. So the same way, when a Christian discovers science, he doesn't have to step outside of it. In fact, he should use that method to peruse his own ideologies first, to peruse what he finds in his Bible. So, and this is exactly what we are going to do today. Now, let's take, for example, we make an observation in the Bible. Just open the Bible, first page, bam. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So that verse alone has two parts. There's the propositional statement and then there's the historical statement. We cannot use the scientific method to peruse historical statements or historical facts. That we have the historical method to do that. But today we are focusing on the science part. So, what is the propositional statement there? In the beginning, God. Or just say in the beginning. Now, what is that telling us? There should be a beginning. So, hypothesis. Everything we see will point to a beginning. Every physical object we see is going to point to a beginning. And then we have an experiment. Alright, so let's go out there. We already have this hypothesis. Let's go out there and find out things. Do they have beginnings? Or do they not? Do things have beginnings or do they not have beginnings? And what do we find when we look? We see everything we see points to the beginning. The beginning of the universe points to the beginning. If you watch my very first video, I explained the cosmological arguments, which says that whatever begins to exist must have a cause. And how do you falsify that? Because sometimes there's the principle of falsification that is not always applied, but it is applied in a lot of situations. So, what is the falsification of this hypothesis or this theory? Any physical object that you can tell me and observe and prove to not have a beginning will falsify this statement. So that means it can be falsified. And what is the theory we have? We have the Kalam cosmological argument. If you want to look that up again, look at my first video, which I will link up in the card somewhere here or there. I don't know where it comes around in the video. And then the law that we come up with is the law of causation and the law of cause and effect. And if you don't know it, you can look it up and understand exactly what I'm talking about. But this law can be traced back to Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 that says, in the beginning. Fun fact, the majority of the scientific community didn't believe in the beginning of the universe up until like the late 20th century. It was always there in the background, but the majority of the sciences thought of a unified or a steady state theory which said that the universe has always existed and will always exist. It was later that science now caught up with the Bible that the universe did indeed have a beginning. Another example that I'm going to put forward is going to be found in the book of Jeremiah. So if you go to the front of the Bible, we see that, and then we go smack right around the middle area of the Bible. You get to Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a prophet who made another propositional statement. In Jeremiah 17 verse 9, it says, "The heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" Now there are three things in here. Basically, three things, but we can sum it up into two. Okay, what exactly does this mean? Well, people will be slippery. That is to say, self-interest will triumph on altruism and lead to various forms of deception. Which means people are going to lie a lot. And we see that today in various forms. And then the other part is who can know it, which means it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to truly and fully know the heart of another person. Now we have a hypothesis, and it should rather, I should have put should there. We have an hypothesis, we have an observation. Now what is our experiment? Experiment, you have to form relationships. In order to falsify this hypothesis, you have to present one person without a single deception. Leave out Jesus because we know Jesus was sinless. But if you present one person without a single deception, or you display 100% knowledge of another human being, and you express that fully, then this hypothesis is also falsified. Now, this example, I don't have a theory for it, but I kind of do, which is only God can redeem the heart of man. That is my theory. However, I'm not putting that up there because I've not fully formed it yet. Now we go to the third and final example for today, which is a prequel for last week video. Last week I looked at some things and a lot of people asked me, okay, what is that supposed to mean? Now let me explain to you what I did. I applied the scientific method to the Bible. I made an observation in the Bible. I formed an hypothesis based on it. I did an experiment into it. I presented a falsification method, and I formed a theory. And then I'm going to do it again and retest and retest and retest. So the last one, observation, Romans 1:20. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood for what has been made, so that people are without excuse. Now, that's a mouthful, but what is it saying? This is saying that since the creation of the world, so since the beginning of people, or the world generally, when people started thinking, however way you want to put that, since the beginning of people, God's invisible qualities, because God is invisible, so his power and his nature have been clearly seen. So since the beginning of time, since people have been able to see things, they have seen that. Please note, there are no culture will have a fully developed unified view. Even the Jews didn't get it all the way right. The Bible says we see in part and we know in part, but through Jesus we come to know fully. So the hypothesis is this: when you go to any ancient culture, even modern culture, and you trace back their ancient history, you see some tendrils, dendrites, tentacles. What are the fingers of the octopus? I don't know that one. And if you watched my last video, you see exactly what I did. Paul had a similar situation in the book of in the book of Acts, where he met the people who had an unknown God, and he used that as a foundation to expose them to the truth of God through Jesus Christ. And because people already have a foundation of this, God has made it so that whenever Jesus came, they can build on whatever they had with the person of Jesus. Jesus in the Bible says he is the cornerstone. So it's like you have a building and it's like it's not really standing, but when the cornerstone comes and you put it in there, you see that, oh, this is how it should have been all along. Jesus is the cornerstone, Jesus is the roof that covers the entire building. So what is the experiment we're going to do? We're going to delve into history, any culture or civilization, and consider the creation of divinity story. So if you see last week video we did with the Yoruba people, and we're going to continue doing that, and then we're going to the Egyptian people, and we're going to see different cultures, how God through creation had made himself known to everybody. Side notes, this is one of the reasons why when I see people talk about different myths about dying and rising God, etc., or similarities to Jesus, I'm like, yeah, that is what we would expect on a Christian view. As a Christian, you would expect that everywhere you go, people will have some idea of God, but not the full idea of God. And it is now your job as a Christian, Matthew 28:19-20, go therefore and make disciples of all nations. It is now your job to build on whatever they had, present Jesus to them and say, this is what you have been missing. This brings the full picture into view and lets you see the canonical God. And how do we falsify these experiments? I'm going to check all history. I've checked a lot of history, even the Chinese people with the Tao and everything, or Dao, however you pronounce that, and duty, even the Buddhists, and you see that there's some incline to God that they're trying to get it. It's like they're trying to grasp it, but it is through Jesus that we can grasp this truth fully. And it is our job as Christians, once again, to present that to people. It is not to bring them down and say they were wrong. It is not to bring them down and abuse them or shame them or anything like that. It's just to say, I also didn't get it. I had some idea, but it's not full. You have some idea, but some of them are inconsistent. So let me show you what I think is consistent through the person of Jesus. Our job as Christians is to do that. Not mock people, not abuse them, but to present in love the person of Jesus Christ. So, what is the law? Wherever it is you are coming from, the Bible says, come unto me, all you who are labored and heavy laden, I will give you rest. Jesus is the only way to God, and only by faith can we step into this relationship with God. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Everywhere you go, whatever you see, there's an inkling of God there. God is calling out to you through creation, through the stars. The Bible says the stars glorify him, they proclaim his greatness, through the vastness of the universe, through the intricacies of the cell, through consciousness, through conscience, through morality, through logic. Everywhere you go, everywhere you turn, God is right there, just at a arm's length. And through the person of Jesus, you can come into the full view and the full knowledge and the full relationship with Christ Jesus. Scientific method, and we still get to Christ. Any method you want to go, there's only one true way to God, and that is through the person of Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. I'm going to play one last independence video, and then we're going to end it for the day.
Declare independence. It establishes a philosophical basis for a civil democracy in which all persons are guaranteed rights by virtue of their personhood.
This political genius, not just in Jefferson, but in Adams and all the other people who collected here, they saw a new time for humankind, which is that we can be free.
Once again, happy Independence Day. Have a wonderful celebration. Please be responsible and enjoy yourself.